All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 17th of May, 2024. Flyers Daily is always presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Our Flyers Exit Day interview series continues with a guy that I've always felt got it. What does he get? He gets what it is to be a pro athlete. He gets what it is to be a pro athlete in Philadelphia. He's a guy that his teammates get, and he gets his teammates. It's Scott Laughton, who is one of those guys. He may not be a guy that's going to go out there and give you 50, 60 points and lead the way in offensive categories or block shots or all of those things. But he's a guy that is a really good glue guy on a team. A guy that, if you're a team that is a playoff team, you're looking for these kind of guys to help you forge a path in the playoffs to success. That's the kind of player Scott Laughton is. He's a former first-round pick and a guy that basically played an NHL season and then went down and played a full season in the AHL, had to figure out what he was going to be at the NHL level. And when you look at the evolution of his game and the evolution of his leadership, there's a ton there to be admired. Now, let's not bury the obvious point here is that the Flyers extended Ryan Poehling to a contract that is cheaper than Scott Laughton's, and he is younger. And the players are similar in job duty in a lot of ways. So does Scott Laughton come back with this team next year? That's a question. That's a legit question mark. I hope he does, because I think he's a guy that has invested a lot into being a Flyer. And I hope that when they are a perennial playoff team and a team that can make a push, that he's a part of it, because I think he's invested a lot in it. So we're going to talk to Scott Laughton in just a second. After Scott Laughton, a lot of times I try and figure out what I'm going to talk about on the podcast, what the subject matter is, and I had some things planned and was going to go through some specific things in this episode, but I'm going to have a real frank discussion after this Scott Laughton Exit Day interview. Scott Laughton's played 601 NHL games. He's got 95 goals, 143 assists for 238 points. He is now 29 years of age. He'll be 30 coming up in just about 2 weeks, coming up on the 30th of this month. So happy early birthday, Sarge. And let's get to the interview now. Here's my conversation with Flyers forward Scott Laughton from his Exit Day interview. Flyers breakup day, and we're with Flyers forward Scott Laughton. Laughs, how you doing? I know this is a weird time to have the season end seemingly so suddenly, and then all of a sudden go, okay, now we have to assess everything, and summer's in front of us. Like, this is a little different than kind of easing your way to the end of a season.
Yeah, pretty fresh still, I think.
A little raw, right?
Yeah. I think it's going to take some time to decompress and kind of see what happened there in the last little bit and learn from it. I think that's the only thing you can do, be better from it and learn from those experiences throughout. But yeah, it sucks. It's still a bad feeling and not one you want to have. And we'll look to change that next year.
You know, I've been talking about this kind of evaluation process. I'm not ready to do it until, the recency of the last games or whatever. You got to have some time, a little bit of clearing space there. But I can't figure out what it says about a team that you guys are so good against the top teams all year. I think you beat 6 teams that were the number 1 team in the league at the time you beat them. Well, it was Winnipeg twice. You shut them out in a back-to-back. Vancouver earlier this season. You had it against Florida not once but twice on the road. And then you had the struggles against teams that you would deem as inferior. I don't know what one says about the other, or one cancels out. I don't know. But do you have any thoughts on, like, why'd you guys play so well against those top teams?
Yeah, I don't know. I think... especially on the road, I felt like we were so good and
6-0-1.
Yeah, stingy and made teams work. I think as you get to later part of the year, teams are playing more free, especially teams that are out of it. Not a lot of structure to their game, but that's not to say that we shouldn't beat them and be in those games. And that's what costs you at the end of the year is those games. So. Yeah. Yeah, we got to work at it, and I think a big thing is consistency on a night-to-night basis of really bringing it. I thought, honestly, we did it for the most part. Obviously, that stretch and some games before that I think were pretty crucial in our own division that kind of bit us at the end. But yeah, we'll continue to look at it. But yeah, it's a frustrating part of the game and a frustrating part of the year is not picking up points at that time of year, especially when you lose out on the playoffs by whatever it was, 3-4 points, and you're still in it. So it's it's a tough pill to swallow right now, and something that will take a while to get over.
Yeah, I think it was a defining win in December for you guys when you went to Colorado. You were up 3-2 going into the third, and you win the game 5-2 going away because you didn't just try and defend, you kept pushing. And I think that propelled you guys for those road games against top teams so much. What's your plan this summer? You know, you've been in this league a while now.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to separate the season from the off season and the training. You maybe have your rigidity of elements of the off season. What's the first thing on deck for you?
Rest. I think take some time and be with my wife. We're on the road a lot. We're gone a lot. Spend some time at home with her and rest the body. I think haven't played all 82 games in a while, so let my body rest a little bit, heal up some stuff, and get back to training. I think that hunger inside you and that feeling, it doesn't go away, and it only gets more intense, that little taste that we got this year. And the past couple of years have been tough, being out of it so soon. But this gave you a real taste of it. Even the second period last night, the energy and
tension in the building.
Exactly, and that's what you want to feel as a player. And I think everyone's got to have a big summer here and realize that we can be a lot better, and people want to count us out again. We'll have that same mentality, and I think we should.
Scott, enjoyed the summer.
Thank you.
Forward Scott Laughton, great enough to join us for his exit day interview, and again, one of those guys that just gets it, and he said it right at the end of the conversation. Really important offseason for a lot of guys. You can look at it on a micro level for individual players. It's a really important offseason. Like we featured Morgan Frost on Wednesday's episode, and it's a very important offseason for him, and a very important season for him next year when it comes to consistency. There's a lot of guys, individuals, that this offseason is extremely important for, but it's also an extremely important offseason for the franchise, for the organization, for the Flyers, because they've got to take another step forward. And this leads me to what I wanted to talk about in this episode, because as I'm watching coming Wednesday night, I'm watching the Dallas Stars Colorado Avalanche game. And last night, some games on as well. We're watching the second round of the playoffs. And, I've told you guys before that around this time, after a couple weeks when the season ends, I have that period of decompression and I'm fine. But then quickly, the offseason turns to misery for me. And it does make me miserable for a couple of reasons. One is the structure of the season with what I do for a living provides me the structure in my life that I need. I know when I'm going where I'm going, what days I'm going to be there. There's a lot of free time on my hands this time of year. And a lot of people might go, well, that's great. You can just chill with families. And it is. Those parts are good. But with the way I'm wired, my ADD and everything else, OCD, you name it, I got it. I need that framework to my schedule. And I need that rigidity to it as well. And I get miserable this time of year. And plus, I just love the game. I love the game on the ice. I don't enjoy off seasons. So I'm at that point now, and I'm watching these other teams play. I thought the first round of the playoffs was kind of ho-hum. Usually the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is just insane. There was some of that, not as much as in past years. But I think the second round's been really good and really intriguing. And it got me thinking. And I'm already in a semi-miserable state about the game right now and being in the offseason. But it got me thinking. The only time the Flyers have made it to this second round was in the bubble of late. And really the last really long run was 2010. I see these teams going on these runs, and I'll be fully admit it. I am jealous. I'm angry that that hasn't happened in this city in so long. And frankly, I have resentment and scar tissue to the previous regimes that didn't get it done, that weren't able to get the team over the hump. Now, there's a new regime here now with Danny Briere, Keith Jones, and Dan Hilferty, and I have a lot of confidence in them. But I do also have scar tissue, and I do have some PTSD about the last decade. You guys, a lot of you guys know what it's like when this team goes on a multi-round run in the playoffs, how fun it is as people come back in the bandwagon. And I'm not a gatekeeper. I let everybody on. Everybody, come back in for the party. If you're going to stay, if things go sideways, then that's up to you. But I want everybody to be a part of it. And I see these other teams, like I'm watching the Dallas game as they're taking on the Avs down in Dallas, and there's so much green in the crowd. And it makes me think of, well, all that orange in the crowd that's there in the playoffs games when they give away the T-shirts. And a couple of days ago was the anniversary of the 0-3 comeback against Boston to win that in Game 7 and the Simone Gagne goal. And all of these memories come back up, and we just haven't been down this road in so long that, frankly, I sit here in 2024 pissed off about it still. Because I see these other teams going on runs seemingly year after year. And the Flyers were one of those teams. I was conditioned, like many Flyer fans, for that to be the case, not every spring, but most springs. But it hasn't been the case in so long. Yeah, they got to a second round in the bubble. They beat Montreal, who shouldn't even have made the playoffs, frankly, that season. And then they got up into the second round against the New York Islanders, and they lost in 7. And that was fun for what it was. I was just happy the game was back on the ice, truthfully. But we sit here now in 2024, and I can't help but think that really, you know, the way I was brought up, the way a lot of you guys were brought up, the Flyers were one of those teams every year through your formidable years, like through elementary, middle school, and high school. My son's going to be a senior in high school next year, and since he's been in middle school or even elementary school, he hasn't seen the team go on a run. And like I think that his love of the game, the love of the team, and everything has suffered because of that. And I see a generation that is gapped a little bit because the team hasn't done that. So I sit here, going, I am jealous of those other teams that are going on a run again, of Colorado, of Dallas, who I think is built to do it now and long-term with good young players. You guys, Jason Robertson and Wyatt Johnston, obviously Miro Heiskanen and Jake Ottinger, and mixed in with some veterans of Jamie Benn and Sagan, and I mean goodness, 2003 7th round pick Joe Pavelski. Like, I look at that and I go, like, why has this not happened here in this long? Now, I hope it goes there. And next year, we'll see what happens this offseason, whether it's if Michkov comes over, what happens in the trade market, what happens, I think they're going to be minimal players in free agency, what happens with player development. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of good things coming out of last year. It was a progressive step forward. But damn, we got to progress to this level again. Because I'm conditioned that this is the way it was. And now that it hasn't happened for so long, the disappointment invades me at a time when it shouldn't even be affecting me. I don't know if other people go through this like this, but it's what I go through. I know that. And frankly, it makes me angry. Now, I'm not angry at the current regime. We'll see what they can do. And I think Danny Briere is an incredibly smart hockey guy. I know Keith Jones is as well. But sometimes it takes more than that. It's going to take some stones to go out there and have some guts to make big, big decisions. Maybe overpay for a guy. When you look at some of the teams, like Vegas isn't in it anymore this year, but you look at Vegas. Some of the moves that they make took huge, huge risk. I'm ready to take the risk because the reward is too great. And if you're going to be safe, as Tort says, safe is death. And I think you got to approach building a team that way as well. I think the days of being safe are over in a 32-team league. I think you got to have some belief, and you got to go out and you got to forge your path. You got to draft and develop. You're always going to have to do that. No matter what, you got to do that. But I think they've got to go out there and put, lay it down and put your neck on the line to make something really good happen. Because damn it, I don't want to go through another 10 years, my decade of my 50s, like I went through the decade of my 40s when it comes to the team. I don't. I want to enjoy long runs again. And if there's not a long run, it's a team that was positioned for it but just didn't get the job done, and they'll be back next year, and they'll learn from it, and they're capable of going on a long run. But you got to build that first. That needs to be built. Huge step in that direction needs to take place this offseason. I think there were steps last year. I think Bonk turned out to be a really good draft pick. He's had a really good year. Michkov, I think he's going to be a superstar. There's pieces. But it's going to take a lot more than just that. And I think you got to do something in the trade market to really grab the stamp and say, damn it, we're back. And go out there and maybe make it looks like an overpay, but long run it was the right move because it was a signal to your fan base, to your organization, to the NHL, to other teams that we're done laying down. We're done not being one of those teams. We're going to be one of those teams. And we're going to put the structure in place, and we're going to make some deals, and we're going to acquire some talent, and we're going to have a ton of identity. And not only that, when players are up for free agency or they're in the trade market, they're going to want to come here because they're going to want to be a part of what's going on here. And that building packed with Flyer fans, orange everywhere, and long playoff runs. That's where I am today. Bit of a therapy session. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday. We'll be back Monday with Bill Meltzer on a brand new edition of Flyers Daily.